Welcome back to the podcast. I am Mr. Mayover.
And it's your boy iAgo.
And your man's Rashad J.
Thank you for tuning into the Legacy King podcast. Matter of fact, the number one podcast in the world that you will ever come across with these three kings giving you nothing but heat. Some of that podcast heat. Come on, bro. Y'all can show how it's done, my boy.
Some more of that hip hop heat. Some more of that believing in America heat.
Yeah, now. We truly thank y'all for tuning in, man. We're about to get into this topic now. I want to warn you that there's a lot going on in here. But until then, thank you for tuning in and know that we love you.
You mad at that statement though?
For sure.
Because Talib Kweli was like that. Like he made you think. You know what I mean? It was actually thought provoking.
So, I don't think Nas was for everyone.
No.
Because a lot of stuff, like if you got to go look in the dictionary for some of the stuff he's saying, Nas was like gave you smart, intelligent ways to be a gangster.
You know what I'm saying? Like you had your notepad out writing down what Nas said. Hold on, man. Wait a minute.
What was dope about Nas? Nas was himself, and he got respect for it, and didn't miss a beat because of it. You know what I mean? People respected Nas off rip just because he was himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could. I mean, that's one thing I respect. That's why I really rock with him though. His lyrical content and just that dude was himself. You know
I just didn't want to look up words no more.
That's what it is. I got tired of looking up stuff.
I just want to get to the point. I would get these drugs out of here.
I feel like that's why I'm connected.
So you a Jay-Z fan? You a Jay-Z fan? Tell me.
Not crazy part. I'm not really a Jay-Z fan. Like I understood what he was talking about. His angles and different other stuff. Like my favorite rapper was Twista.
Oh heck yeah, man!
Like I was into Twista because I really wasn't into lyrics, but I was into songs. Like I was into those songs that were like I was mostly into producers instead of rappers.
I got you.
I'd be like, "Oh, is that Timberlake?"
You hear that? Just Blaze,
you know?
Yes, sir.
Like, I was into like the producers. Like the producers is what caught my attention. Not too much of the rappers. And music wise, I was really into the R&B singers for sure, because that was my vein, that was my lane.
Okay.
Until Uncle Kelly came in, and then he said, "Hey, you can sing and rap at the same time." I said, "I can't. I'm about to do this." You know what I'm saying?
I'm from the South. I'm a 3 Stacks guy, man.
Yeah, but 3 Stacks, it's not your ordinary South guy though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because normally down here, like, you know what I'm saying, you'll get a Master P every now and then. Especially like this generation, their automatic go to is Wayne. But for me, Wayne was cool, but Wayne wasn't Andre, bro.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Andre is the South version of Nas.
For sure.
Yes, agreed. That was a great sir. That was really good.
That was
really good.
I mean, the whole Outcast, honestly, you had.
Big Boy underrated,
they were
man.
talking about. Oh, yeah, Big Boy definitely underrated. Acting and music wise.
Right.
He, to me, their delivery of music was in a way that made you think.
Yeah.
That made you say, hold up, is he talking about something sad or something?
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy how they do it, because like Outkast had the ability to not only reach the conscious rap, but they was able to switch from conscious to mainstream, like relatively quickly, and go back and forth. And then when they connected with Underground Kings, that was something else. When they got with UGK, you know what I'm saying? It was crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. I think those, when you look back at history as far as like rap, they hold their own place because you can't really look at like Outkast. You can't really put somebody in that same boat. You know what I mean? Like what competition would be out what Outkast have?
I would think no one.
That's like Wu-Tang Clan for me. Like who's touching Wu-Tang? Like as a group. Nobody's touching Wu-Tang. I don't care what nobody say. Lyrical content from every person.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
It's crazy because I don't look at lyrics. Is that wrong?
Well, no, but I mean, not even lyrics, just music though. Like music, like for these guys to take a lot of their stuff, even their production, right, was really based a lot of like their from where they grew up, right? The old kung fu flicks, right? Taking pieces that, like, man, some of the musicality. Like from like, come on, man. Like you can't some of that stuff you can't touch. It's just like, yeah, Wu-Tang's in their own separate same thing with freaking Outkast. Like they did stuff that nobody else did. So it was just fire.
Who better, Wu-Tang or Outkast?
I can't pick. I like them both. I would never pick.
I can't do that. Don't look at me like that.
I ain't pick. I would never
look at me like that, dude. I'm not
going
do this.
to the analyst right about now.
I'm not doing this with you, bro. I have respect and love for both the Wu-Tang Clan and Outkast, and I will not choose between the two.
Well, I'm going with Outkast. Don't give a damn. I'm going with Outkast because their music reach.
Yeah, they mainstream
to
stuff.
Me. This is to me. Their mainstream stuff reached way further than Wu-Tang did. Not taking nothing away from them, but the demographic of what they reached out to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's to me phenomenal. It broke barriers between white and black.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And not just your ordinary whites. We talking about your, like upscale. I'm talking about upscale type.
Yeah.
Who will literally say, I'm gonna play this at by Miss.
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
They broke barriers. They cross. And I understand you can't separate two kids, but me, I can. Because until they start, giving us some money, then maybe Wu-Tang.
Cash rules everything.
But it's one of those things too. It's one of those things too that when Outkast came out, what we talking about as far as that when they shifted, they were out way before early 2000s. But as far as like when their music shifted, right? Because their music did shift, and that was in that early 2000s. When you talk about Wu-Tang, it was a whole different demographic in the early 2000s where we started to see urban culture more accepted. Yeah. So what I mean, you got a lot. You got you had Little John and everybody playing Bone Crusher playing. No matter you was in white. Matter of fact, it's funny. I was looking at some YouTube videos, right? And I don't know if you've seen that YouTube video where the guy started. He said, "Hey, Dylan, play that song." Playing the Dr. Dre on the piano, and then he's like, I'm like, but it's when what I mean. It's like early 2000s when urban culture started to get take off as far as like hip hop.
The hype got real.
So if Wu-Tang would have been in that, what I mean, like as far as because Wu-Tang was already out before then, what I mean, and they had some hits.
I get it. Look,
I'm just saying, but
nothing from.
I'm just saying. I saw different perspective. Different perspective.
I feel you on that end, but I do think like even if so, like at the end of the day, the most mainstream Wu-Tang song is Cream, bro. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. They had some mainstream stuff. I can agree with that. As far as Outkast, I can't lie to that. Yeah.
Like, the whole Love Below speaker box album.
I was just reaching. I was reaching, y'all.
Yes,
stop. Okay, you won. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I still ain't picking nobody. But their outreach was definitely, yeah.
We gotta pay.
No, it's just like I equally love them, man. I equally love like the music that they've produced and what they've done from music, huh?
If one I can't count them.
If one had to go, look. If one had to go, I'm getting Wu-Tang up out of here because ain't no way I'm losing Morris Brown, bro. That's not happening, bro. You got me messed
up. Well, yeah, nah. I mean, I would stick with my Wu-Tang.
You right
I would stick with Wu-Tang. I would stick with Wu-Tang.
So
I'll stick with Wu-Tang. Outkast to go.
Gotcha.
I mean, because once I'm not a South boy too, so you know what I mean. And so for me, it is content. Like for me, it is something. You know what I mean. And so it is. It's not that Outkast doesn't have content. I mean, that's cool that they reach barriers, but
it's no takeaway from each.
Oh yeah.
I think from each group there is literally no takeaway.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Honestly, I think when Outkast and them came in, the whole South honestly wrecked.
It's just exploded, bro.
Like, yeah.
When I tell you, when that South sound came out,
yeah.
Because you gotta understand, New York had it on lock for a grip.
Oh yeah,
and then the West Coast came. Well, West Coast and New York, because West Coast was in the '80s.
Yeah,
a lot of they birthed a lot of the '80s. Same thing with East Coast, but yeah,
they had a lot of samples. Your boom caps, you know what I'm saying. But when the South,
explosion, bro. I mean,
tell me that didn't change the music game.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, bro, that hit so hard. Petey Pop, like people forget about Petey Pop, but take your shock off and swing it like a helicopter, right? That song played like North Carolina. Come on and raise up.
Hey, that song so hard today. hey, you know when it hit, it gave you the most confident in the world. It doesn't matter what size you were. You were gonna take your shirt off and twist it around, waving like a helicopter.
And truth be told, I will. If we talk about gangster rap, right, or talking about that hard rap, I'll rock with 3 6 Mafia real quick.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like you talking about like, bro, 3 6
Mafia ain't nothing to mess with. That's what they say,
sir.
They broke barriers.
I heard stories about them, boy. They on some boy.
They broke barriers.
I think like especially like
sipping on some
being from Auburn.
Right as I'm sipping, huh?
You know what I'm saying?
People, that's not scissor. That's not.
He said that's not scissor.
I swear it is.
It's heaven made.
Lemonade, people.
Being a South boy and being from Albany, you know what I'm saying? Mobb Deep.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's etched in my brain, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mobb Deep. Oh, I forgot about that.
Why you sound like DMX when you say that? That's etched in my brain.
It is, right? You know what I'm saying? You know the dog?
Etched in my brain.
Hey, he was another one though. DMX, man.
DMX was a
but I don't care.
No, not from the South, but I'm talking about another like trending rapper.
Who broke barriers.
X is still in my top 5, bro. I don't care
man, sorry. Bro. Have you seen the YouTube clip of when Jay-Z when he opened up for Jay-Z and Jay-Z had to follow him and he was about to go out on the stage, so X was like, I'm about to do this, and he started barking and the crowd just went crazy and he walked out on the stage and Jay-Z's like, how do I follow that? He just knew how to get people engaged, man.
That era, man, of music was 90s, on a different level. I think when they did the what was the Blackout album, something like that, with Jay-Z, DMX, it was like they had a tour going or something like that.
That's the one that I think he was talking about too.
Yeah. That tour within itself, man, was crazy. They had some heavy hitters on that tour.
I might look it up too because I'm curious myself.
But DMX was he was in a league of his own, man. Honestly, like league of his own. That's why I think like his the ending of his life, which was rather sad, man, because it goes to show what happened when you battle by yourself. These different addictions and man, the crazy part, we've lost a lot, man, over the years. Sure. We lost some heavy hitters over the years, some iconic people.
The White Green Rangers from Power Rangers.
I just seen that, man.
Yeah.
Like and they say that it was from suicide. That was the first report. So. I haven't seen any report that's like confirmed it, but that was the first thing TMZ said. But you talk about like you talk about like, man, like he made a lot of childhoods.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Tommy, like and like he was supposed to have a short. I was reading a little bit about him. He was supposed to have a short role on Power Rangers that turned into 27 years on Power Rangers.
Which happens.
Which is it's wild though. You know what I mean? And if you go on Facebook, you just scroll down Facebook, there are memorial after memorial after memorial on social media because how much of an effect that he had on so many. I mean, not even just 30. We talking about 20 and teenagers. You know what I mean? And now because he was just recently on the freaking Power Rangers like 2 years ago. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he
was doing his thing.
That's wild, man. And so.
I mean, like I said, we definitely lost some heavy hitters within these. I mean, just few years, man. Just few years. I think we were at our Thanksgiving thing, and we were going around the room, basically, saying what we're thankful for, and it's just to think 2 years ago we was not able to come together like that,
right?
Because we was on lockdown, like. It's amazing how much COVID took away. Mm-hmm. Like just the interaction with people. And it goes to show how vital people are one to another. And we don't even know that.
Yeah.
It's crazy the effect of a person being there than a person not being there. Which is crazy. Which I understand when God said it's not good for man to be alone, but I think he was talking like in general. Like I think he was literally like, listen, because think about what you do when you by yourself. When your mind get the roaming and they always say like, idle mind is the devil's playground.
Yeah.
And especially as men, you know what I'm saying? We get to going off into so many different I call them solutions because, men are basically, we want to fix everything.
Yeah.
So we'll go off into how I fix this, how I fix that, how I fix that, how I fix this, instead of saying, okay, what we doing today? what we got going on today? Because this stuff right here, I can't even touch right now. But it's important to understand how important life is, man. So this is a totally different okay, it's where you going. Okay. But I guess my question would be, man, to be honest with y'all, like, and I want each of y'all to, and this is a serious question. This is not Red Robin or anything like that. Yum. But I want y'all to get an age in your mind. If you had to die, what age would you choose to die at? Now I'm gonna go ahead and cue the thinking music from Jeopardy. Think about that. All right, iAgo, since you got a lot of time before me, you the youngest.
Got a lot of time.
At least 10, 20 years. And start.
You the youngest, so if you could die, if you had to choose an age to die at, what would it be? And I'm curious because with you being the youngest, what is that number for me? Like I'm curious.
I'd probably say like 81, bro.
81? Why 81?
Because like, for one, life expectancy average that I've always been told has been like 80. So
yeah, for
me, like if you just look in the natural sense of it, you plan out your decade. Well, decades are I like to break things down by that. So you got 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But everything is still connected. So, like, the stage that I'm in now is the building stage. We're building foundations of everything. Literally, from like businesses to relationship. That's the stage I'm in right now, because I want to be able to move forward with the next phase of life, knowing what everything is. So you get that figured out now, because those first 10, not even 10, first 18 years of your life, like they count about how you develop as an individual.
Yeah.
But the relationships themselves can die off quickly, because school, like, you don't stay connected with everybody that you're with in school, and you definitely don't stay connected with family members like that. Some family members, they go off and they do their own thing. You never see them again.
Yeah.
And because you're always continuously growing, they are too, so they could pass away at any time.
True.
So during those first 18 years, that's personal development for yourself. And 19 up until about, I'd say, the rest of your life, it'll be all growth from not only you, but for what you want to do in life and who you want to be connected to.
Yeah.
So with me being in this stage right now, I can't put no time limit on it, but I know for like in the next 5 years, I want to be able to move forward with the next part of life, which is not the foundation, but the construction stage. I want to be able to have everything in place where we're putting down like the sheetrock and all of that, figuratively speaking.
So would you say 5 years of from this point on, like 5 years is just basically building your foundation?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. And then, I want to be able to go ahead and, like, the 5 to 10 years after that, be in the thick of everything. So, like, that's like getting businesses not only up and running, but flourishing, hitting that million, 10 million, 20 million, 100 million, $1 billion mark. Definitely. To where all of that stuff is now profitable, and I can take the knowledge that I have and not only teach it to the employees that we'll have and share with my peers, but also teach it to my kids as well, because I want to be able to let them see, like, hey, this is where we started, but this is how you get here. So have them walk through the process as well, not just handing them the key, letting them be born with the spoon in their mouth, because that's something I can't stand right there, the silver spoon, Josh. I want to be able to get to that point to where that's about, like, if you being honest, I'm looking at like 40, 45-ish. That way everything after 45 is just like, live your life to the fullest.
Definitely. So you're trying to basically retire at the age of what?
45 to 47, I'm trying to be done, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Have everything set where, you know what I'm saying, I can be like, hey, this is in play. Here's your CEO for today. Me and the wife, we about to go to Aruba.
That's what I'm talking about. We out of here. I feel that. That's good.
And that way, by the time I hit 81, everything's fulfilled. I can pass everything on to my kids. Well, they should already have it by then, up and running, just keeping me informed on stuff.
Yeah,
gotcha. Even then, I'm like, I'd give you some insight, but you know what I'm saying? I expect, especially with everything that we know and what we teach, that, and I said that before, that I give them the blueprint. I expect them to take that blueprint, but make advances on it.
Yeah.
So that way, when I'm 81 and I'm getting ready to get up out of here, like, don't talk to me about the business. I know you got that in the bag. We good. You know what I'm saying?
The queen is in Aruba.
What I need you to do is go over there and go move that chair, because I can't lift it up for real like that.
Don't turn into dad. It never came here.
It's
Rashad J.
81.
I'll be honest with you, I don't really like this question, but I respect it.
I know.
It's just real.
People hate talking about death and dying and stuff like that, but
not so much. Like for me, it's not so much the hate talking about death. I'm fine, because knowing where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
Me. The crazy part is iAgo. I thought 81 too, actually, which is funny. That's why I started laughing. 81 was the first number that popped in my head, like 81, and more or less for me, it was more on seeing my kids. You know what I mean? Seeing my kids, because I'm 35 now. My kids are here, so I got a, you know what I mean? Got a 4-year-old, got an 8-year-old. We talking about 47 years. I get to see them and their kids. I get to see them in their established life, and know that they're good. You know, as a parent, that's one thing, you just want to know that they're good. You know what I mean? And but also it gives time to be able to see things established. I think that's the biggest thing, because you know, one of the proudest moments of a farmer is looking back at his harvest and saying that, you know, it's done.
Yeah, that's good, bro.
You know what I mean? And that's my heart. I want to see my kids are good, squared away, well taken care of. You know what I mean? They're on the right track, and know that, you know, we talking about they'll be like in their 40s. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean, their 40s and 50s. And so, you know, by that time, they're already, you know, they're entering into, you know, possible grandparent and all these different stuff themselves. And so, you know, to see that, that's my hope, and that's my desire. I was gonna be goofy and say not until heaven, till God called me up. You know, I'm not gonna see them. Be like Enoch, but no, let me stop. But nah, I think, and the thing is, as far as the question about death, like, you know, just putting a time on it, I've never been one to like to put constraints, and so that's why I struggle with things that feel like you put a constraint on it, like 81. Yeah. So I have to say 81 is my minimum by 81, but I'm believing for greater. You know, and that's just me, man. But 81's that age. So
got you. And I chose 98. I chose 98 because not only because I see the way the world is going, and I know it's going to take someone like us to build an army for that long. I'm with iAgo. You know, a lot of times me and iAgo had these conversations all the time about wealth and about transferable wealth. I just don't want to, like, within these next 5 years will be dedicated for my children, all my children. Next 5 years after that will be dedicated towards my grandchildren. Then the next like each 5 years, I'm going to do a generation, setting up wealth, not just so that they can see. Because I think the thing about us is that we never seen it. Like, we never seen transferable wealth set up, but we've seen transferable debt set up in so many different ways. We seen wealth on TV, and being that it was never really, well, I'm speaking for myself, I've never seen that, you know, a person get to the point where wealth was transferable. And if a person in my family got wealth, it didn't last that long. They was wealthy, but then they blew it. And then they got the same, like, they thousandaires right with me. So, which is crazy. Which is crazy. But for me, I said 98 because this world is about to get, I mean, it's already evil now. And if you knew the things that are coming down the pipeline and the things that are literally that's being set up, I know it's like they're going to need some strong kings in the place. So for 98 I mean, for me to be able to go at 98 would definitely be number one grace, because I wasn't supposed to make it to 19. The statistic on where I'm from is 18 and 19, sometimes 16. depending on what the year is, depending on what they doing in that year.
Yep.
But I'm thankful to make it an extra year period.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to wake up. What like waking up is literally a gift. And that's why I think a lot of times I go so hard in the paint, because I know, even though we say 98 and 81, like before we know it, that'll be at our front door.
Right.
And the reason why I asked that question, because time is ticking away. And for me, like, I age backwards. So for me, I'm fine. I age backwards. I look at The Rock. The Rock gives me so much hope that I will forever be sexy. Like, Dwayne. My guy, Dwayne. Listen, I'm looking at this camera. Dwayne, look. You give me hope, man. You give me hope. Dwayne's what, 50, 53?
50.
50?
He just turned 52.
Yeah, 50 on the mark.
He gives me hope. All these 50-year-olds who look to be very healthy, to look very like they ain't going nowhere for a while. I mean, which, is possible. Outside don't mean nothing compared to your inside.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm not gonna lie, that look is a bonus. But 98, man. And if I make it to 108, to God be the glory. And if I make it to 50, to God be the glory. Either way, I know where I'm going. Like,
right. That's
I honestly don't give a doggone when I go. Honestly, I'm working hard right now, and I'm planting these seeds on this podcast right now. Listen, I honestly don't care, because I'm good. Like, I know where my home is at. Like, this is just hypothetical. But what I'm saying is, like, I really don't care whether, like, when I go, I'm doing everything I need to do. So when it's time for God to take me and do what I need to do, trust, I'm good. Yeah. I guarantee you how good. Look, cremated, buried at sea. Like, my stuff is already planned out. I tell you, everything's already planned out. Like, even right now, my kids will be taken care of if I go. Now, they be taken care of to the point where they'll be able to survive. But I'm trying to make it to the point where they are able to thrive right now. So my kid, like, me and my wife go back and forth. She be like, man, I want the kids to go to college and all that stuff. I'm like, man, bump college. I want my kids working for me. I don't work for no more. I don't want my kids working for nobody else but
right.
Because number one, I have their best interest. No 9 to 5 will ever have my child's best interest. You're just a number.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like, me and my wife, we go. Well, she coming around. She coming around. she coming around. But we're getting to the point where we're like, she's even seeing the things in 9 to 5 with her being a teacher. She's like, babe. When you said this is this. I mean, hey, to God be the glory. The warning came.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, like, the things that I've seen just in the news lately, like all these killings, people dying, the switch within education, the switch within, like, school systems.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't think this thing is getting evil, and like it's getting crazy, like, and I think we just said it like last podcast or was we just talking about it? We are literally the modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
We said that. I can't remember which one we.
I don't know if we was offline, but that's what we said. If you don't like it, never mind.
It's the truth. I mean, it's the truth.
It's the truth.
I mean, go research Sodom and Gomorrah, then compare notes. Like, I mean, people get all up in arms about statements like this. But if you, and it's mainly people that aren't educated about it, the ignorant people about as far as what it means. Sodom and Gomorrah, they were lovers of themselves, right? Where homosexual was free. where anything was acceptable and permissible with the right dollar or with the right, you did whatever you want to do. We're in a nation right now where it's based upon, if you don't allow me the ability to do what I want to do, then what you're doing is you're being a racist, or you're being a bigot, or you're being hateful. You know what I mean? It got to the point where we're comparing a choice of lifestyle versus a skin color. I don't choose to be black, but you can choose to be gay or straight. So, like, you know what I mean? We're comparing the two, which is just, it's moronic in and out of itself. Boys calling themselves girls calling themselves boys. I said I can identify as a mirror if I wanted to, and it'd be socially acceptable. How's that right? You know what I mean? When definition and facts are facts, and that's what Sodom and Gomorrah was. Sodom and Gomorrah was contrary to real truth and facts.
I compare it to like, have you ever seen a show horse? Show horses walk with the blinders on their eyes, so they can't see the stuff from left to right. They can only see what's in front of them. So, like, in this world that we're living in right now, it's a lot of people walking with the blinders on their eyes. Like, they're not seeing the damage being caused. They're only seeing the path that their owner is taking them on. And it's sad because we just had a conversation not too long ago at Best Buy with this guy. Like,
right.
And I kid you not, man. Like, it's not the first time. It's not the first time that we've had this conversation with somebody. For one, not of our own ethnic group,
right?
Not of our own political group, because for one, we're not politics anyway. Like, for me,
get into it all like that.
I could care less about politics, so I can talk to anybody and be fine. Like, this man, full on Trump supporter. I'm talking Trump hat, got the hunter coat on, and we're having full on conversation
and laughing.
Everything we say, we're in agreement on, besides his explicit language. That's the only thing.
He wasn't PG-13 at all.
He wasn't PG. But the stuff that he was talking was so real. It's like, like, the stuff that we grew up with is gone, and you can see the change and the shift. And it's sad to see, because it's like, when the warning is getting ready to get heated, they knock it out the park. They don't want it there. Everything that, and I like this. It's like playing a game of baseball.
Right.
Everything that's true is a foul ball, and everything that's wrong, they're hitting it out the park, home run.
Yeah.
And it's sad. So you fighting a losing battle.
My pastor Rock Parts, I love him, because he's one of those guys, flaws and all, right and all. He's one of those guys that really says, this is what the word says, and I'm going to say what the word says. If you don't like it, you go kick rocks. He wrote a book called Living on Your Head. And this is before all this stuff started to, like, really, he wrote it like the early 2000s, and was talking about an upside down world, like an upside down culture, where we're literally living on our heads. We're calling up, down, and down, up. And it's crazy because it's so true. When you said warning, the Bible says warning comes before destruction.
All
right?
day. Yeah.
And so, and the interesting part about it is we're rejecting things that built the nation that we exist in. The nation was built on certain moral ethics and morality that we're getting away from because it's not socially acceptable. And that's the interesting part. And society is actually created by the thoughts and opinions of others. We dictate what's socially acceptable. And so that means that we control that aspect, but it doesn't make it moral, doesn't make it right. Paul says all things are lawful, but not all things are expedient.
Right.
I can do anything I want to do. I can go jump off a bridge, doesn't make it right. I can go slap somebody in the face, literally, because I have that free choice to do so, but it doesn't make it right. You know what I mean? So I heard somebody say something really good. They said that if you're saying that you have a right to choose the desires that you want, right? What makes a pedophile different? And I thought that was so powerful, because you're talking about, I have a right to choose whatever I want to do. And if you don't agree, then you're against me. So what's the difference between a pedophile? Because they have a desire that they choose to follow.
Right.
Does it make it right? Do I have to support it? you know, and it was a visual or perspective change on what's moral, what's right. But that's where we get a culture that they're choosing the right, they're choosing their own right, which is interesting in and out of itself. And so that's something to chew on. People choosing their own right.
And the crazy part is, I think if you pay attention over history, our own right is what got us in trouble anyway.
For sure,
man.
From the beginning, we chose our right when the fruit was bit.
Mm-hmm.
So now we choosing our own right can continue now. This is something that's been passed down for years, man. For it's been passed down from Adam and Eve, man. Mm-hmm. Honestly, because people are when I go back home, they always ask, man, how do you do it? How do you stay saved? Like you don't want to smoke, you don't want to drink, you don't want to do this. And I always tell them this. I've done all that before. So I just continue to do it until I die. When you realize, number one, who God really is, I'm not talking about the man-made explanation of who God is, because a lot of times I think we had the conversation.
Yeah.
iAgo on the trailer talking about how we basically compare how our earthly father treats us compared to our heavenly father.
Yeah.
And we think they are the same when it's total opposite.
Nowhere near.
And I think the lack of relationship with God, we got relationship with some of our fathers, but we don't have relationship with God, period. And I think that's dividing us, because if you really knew who God was, you wouldn't take breath in your body for granted.
All right.
If you really knew who God was, you wouldn't take just the simpler thing of just walking, talking, being in your right mind. I think we wake up every day as basically spoiled brats, because I've seen people over in the Middle East going through crazy stuff. And if it's too hot, we complaining.
Right.
If it's too cold, we complaining. Like, we got 5 cars that we drive, but yet we still complaining. So for me, I always tell people, like, man, number one, sin will take you further than you ever want to go, and it'll keep you longer than you want to stay. And I understand now when the Bible said the wages of sin is death.
Thing that hit my heart. Sin will stretch you out but never fulfill you.
All day.
It will stretch you out but never fulfill you. It'll take you so many directions, but you never find the answer that you're searching for. And the crazy part is that's what's motivating you to chase the sin, because you're trying to find something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you never find it. It takes you. It's like it keeps you walking with no type of substance. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because it'll keep you walking fast too. Have you in this fast run, you dehydrated, hungry. But when God is saying, like, slow down and just take this water and walk with me.
Yeah.
Walk with me. We ain't gotta run. We ain't gotta jog. Just walk with me. And we'll get to that destination in the time that you're supposed to get there. Yeah. And that just, man, and that's something, I lived overseas. So I got to experience, and I always encourage people, and I encourage everyone, even if you listen to this podcast, to travel abroad. And I'm not talking about like Canada or Mexico. Go outside, go across a body of water. Yeah. Because you'll see something that will change your worldview seriously. And I cannot express. So one of the guys, shout out Joshi, I miss you, brother. He was a taxi driver. I call him the godfather of taxi, right? Been in Kuwait for 20 plus years now. And he would help Indians come over. He's from Kerala, India. He would help Indians come over and he'll get them jobs as far as with a taxi service.
Gotcha.
And they'll work underneath him. And he had like a whole bunch of people. I call him the godfather of taxi. Called Joshi. And the one thing with Joshi made sure that his clients were taken care of. That's why I always rock with Josh. You can't rock with everybody because some people try to, do all types of crazy stuff. And so Joshy was a safety net. Joshy was he worked moral. He was about his family. And so you knew that if you work with Joshy, he made sure their taxi drivers, was right. If I told Josh I ain't like this guy too much, man, don't send him out. He won't send him no more. But Josh, me and him would have these real conversations. I'm like, Joshy, and he would tell me, he said, Mr. Jones, not a lot of people come over from India with much. He said, I have guys that come over with just a shirt and pants on. That's all they have. They have no clothes. They have no nothing. Yeah. They have nothing. They come over and majority of their money, which they make a fraction of what we make as Americans, go to their family, and then they also have to take a small bit to survive in another country while providing for their family because there's not enough jobs. This dude lives. He has a house. He walks outside to get his food, grab a mango off a tree. You know what I mean? That's how he grocery shops. And so it's like we take for granted as American, and that's why it does bother me. And sometimes I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I want to live abroad because you get more authentic people living abroad than you do in the States.
Right.
It's because we have access to so much. And the difference between other countries, and get this, by the way, the U.S. is still a baby country compared to other superpowers. We've been in existence for 1778. So we're talking about a little bit over 200 years, right? No, that's not it. Yeah, a little bit over 200 years. We've been in existence as a country. Some of these countries have been established for thousands. You know what I mean? And not only are they been established for thousands, they have a culture that spans back that far. Where we have a culture that spans back since the 70s, 78, which is a band-aided culture or a quilted culture because it's you have immigrant Irish and immigrant African, immigrant Chinese, immigrant Japanese. I mean, there's so much that this country, and I think that's what makes it so dope. But it also is a downfall because we have access to so much, but we have nothing to set a standard. You know what I mean? Even from the food, right? I don't know if you guys know, but there are hundreds of ingredients that are not allowed in European foods and Indian foods and Middle Eastern foods that we allow in our foods because it's acceptable because of the money. It's acceptable because we want people to be happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's why American has a different. If you get an XL shirt in America, it's like a 4X as far as another country because of the obesity in the States. And I mean, there's so much, man. And that's why I encourage people to travel abroad because people are so much more social compared here. You know what I mean? They have such more of a standard about certain things, man. And that's why, man, honestly, we as a people as a whole, though, we lack a foundation that we can all rock with. And that foundation should be Jesus. You know what I mean? But anyways,
I think you said it, honestly, bro. When you said we're young, which makes sense why we make immature choices and decisions as the U.S. Like we babies. I mean, it makes sense now. Okay, I never knew that because history is what I was like. As soon as you guys talk about history, I'm like, I'm out. Like Chad, Chad, that's his forte for the most part.
Love history, bro.
When you talk about that, it made perfect sense. Like, okay, we just young and dumb, as Papa said. We're young and dumb.
Young and dumb, and in that, I think right now, if you really look at where America and the United States is going, they're in that rebellious teenage stage.
Yeah, like a mug.
Because you're abandoning every moral that was already set in place that you learned growing up. This is learned.
Yeah,
but the Bible was taught, and you're in that rebellious stage now. You're like, no, we're not gonna. No, forget the Bible. We're good. We're gonna do it our way.
But we pieces of the Bible.
We as a country were birthed off of rebellion.
That's true.
As a country, it was birthed off rebellion. That was the seed to why America existed. You had the English settlers, and they didn't want to, subscribe to the king's religion, so they came to the States. They wanted to worship how they wanted to worship. They wanted to do how they wanted to do. So they rebelled and got on boats and left. You know what I mean? And that's how the country was born in and out of itself. Gotcha. And what's so significant is for us to be so young and so immature. Guess what? The whole world depends on the U.S.
Right.
So we dictate the flow of the world because we're the number one consumers of all products as far as economically. Like
stay
we
right there.
dictate it.
Stay right there.
And so
stay right there. Stay right there. Because you said we're the number one consumers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Because we as black people, we're trendsetters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're the number one consumers. But in a lot of ways, we act immature too.
100%.
Well, fellas, we got work to do. Go ahead.
I was saying that.
Nah, because it makes sense to see it in that light. It makes sense to see it in that light, and it gives me something to focus on. Because a lot of time, yeah, that just really just opened up a whole can of worms for me right there, and just we'll have a conversation outside of this. But go ahead, continue. That did just open a can of worms, though.
No, I mean it's the truth though, man. And the moment that we're able to be transparent and authentic and realize this and do some self evaluation to say, you know what, I'm a part of it, yeah. And that's and then actually make a step towards something that will change. But see, that's why God is so significant, because we don't have the ability to change ourselves completely.
Nah.
If that was the case, we wouldn't need God. So, the Bible says, "In our weaknesses, His strength made perfect." And this is why I love having this conversation, y'all. I love having conversations like this because when talking to even that Trump supporter or whoever, you know what I mean, and you start to have these have a real conversation, and you show that no matter what you do, you're still going to be incomplete unless you have something that's greater than you to complete you.
Yeah.
And what you create cannot be greater than you. That's like saying the microwave is greater than the person who created it. There's just no way that the creation can be greater than the creator, because it doesn't have the power to create the way that he does or it does. So, when you think about that concept that I'm incomplete until I go back to the creator and say, hey, complete me.
Yeah.
We all, and the crazy part is the sobering thought about this, no matter what you believe, is that you are faulty. And that if there's one person in this world that thinks that they're not faulty,
you crazy.
They're lying. You know what I mean? I don't care what you believe, you are faulty. So therefore, how do you fix a fault how do you fix it? Do you go to another man that's faulty and say, fix me?
No.
You just saying, you human just like me. You make decisions just like me.
Here's the funny part, we do that though.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's socially acceptable.
Yeah. Like we say, you broken? Yeah, I'm broken. Fix
me up.
Right. and expect that's called insanity. That's the mere definition of insanity. How can you take another broken thing and say, hey, fix me, I'm broken? And the crazy part, you still have the same deficiency and not even realize it.
Yeah.
You're prideful, you're insecure. You feel lonely. It's funny how married men go to single men for advice.
Who do that?
I'm just saying it is a thing. And you go to your people. I'm not saying it's wise, but it happens. Your wife go. You have an issue with your wife. And men go like, hey man, let me call my boy up. Ain't never touched a marriage. Ain't never been in no serious relationship, right? But yet ready to give marital advice.
I wish I would go to Chad for some iAgo for marriage advice.
Oh, don't you ever do that?
But that's why you got your head up. You know these things.
Tim, you just won't listen to me. All right.
Okay.
That's out of my jurisdiction.
You know me. I'm like, you ain't talk to dad, boy.
Redirect.
I'll talk to dad. I'll talk to mom. I'll talk to somebody. And the crazy part is, we just can't go to people who are married, but we got to go to people who are married with wisdom.
Yes.
Come on, man.
We'll go to people. How we get here? But we'll go to people. You must be here. But we'll go to people who are married and unhappy.
Yeah.
And misery love company. So you're not like you about to get some good advice.
Yeah. They already looking down on relationships, so they ain't gonna do nothing but give
Already,
you
they
bad
already think
advice.
man ain't no good.
Right.
Hey, that's why I love men like my brother Mo and my brother Mario. You know, shout out and my spiritual father, Dad Hines. I love y'all because, I mean, real men, real. When you go to somebody that actually has something that can help you, they hold you accountable. That is the key, that honestly that is the indicator to this a successful relationship of growth. Is when they hold you accountable. If you go to a yes man, then that relationship ain't meant to help you grow because
Right.
it doesn't challenge you. It doesn't. You know, one thing I love about Mario, I've been going to Mario as far as my barber for almost 3 years now, and it's fun. I'll be in there. I'll just talk to him, man. I know he's a pastor, man of God. His walk, you know, it's backed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, come check
Like
me out,
mowing.
Mario. See
Hey,
if we
that's
can
my
line
dude,
me up.
man. Shout out. I'm gonna go talk to him tomorrow to get Elijah haircut. But it's funny because I'll be telling like, man, this is how I feel. You know, this is with Didi and this and that, right? And he'd be like, He says, so what'd you do?
Oh,
And a
let's
hush
not,
fell over the crowd.
let's talk about her though. Let's not talk about me. Come on, brother. Be my brother.
but it's funny because it caused me to go before God. It's like, God, this for somebody to do that, I have respect, and you know, he ultimately ended up becoming one of my mentors, somebody I really trust,
Yeah.
and I confide in, man. And but yeah,
So
we live in a
what should
society
men
not
do?
challenged.
So what should
Mhm.
let's just
Yes,
let's just
sir.
tackle this real quick. Since we here and we talk about men and we're all men. Even though Chad can't give like I always give Chad advice. Like listen, when it comes to you when you do get your significant other, my boy, these are things to do. So there's gonna be some advice for I would say men period trying to be married or want to be married. I think me and Rashad can speak to this. I'm gonna let Rashad speak first because you've been married longer than me,
10 years, man.
10 years, and
Yeah.
I'm right behind that with the Niners. Um, but I think it's going to be good. But then I want to check her. Chad, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Just because he light skinned with a fro, don't mean he don't got wisdom. But what makes
Oh shoot. Oh, so many ways to go with that one. So
right?
many ways to go with that one.
But what makes iAgo so fire is this. He's up under some amazing men.
Yeah.
Like when I tell you, this dude, I'm gonna go country on you. This dude literally smothered up under knowledge right about now. Like he wake up to knowledge, go to sleep to knowledge, around nothing but knowledge.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let Rashad J break this down on relationship. We just gonna touch base on. Of course, we're gonna come back to it later on and teach y'all some stuff because I think the enemy is on a rampage for marriages, period, and relationships, period. Because I heard earlier today the Holy Ghost was speaking to me, saying the devil hates harmony.
Right.
He hates unity. I mean unity. Anything that goes together and walk together, like when me and my wife walk together, he hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Us doing this podcast, he hate that. Of course, I mean we all seen the attacks, right?
For sure.
Yep.
All right, Rashad, go ahead.
So I will not come to you guys as if there's no perfect marriage, first and foremost. As far as perfection, because a lot of times people enter into marriage with this expectation or this standard that they see from movies or they even may get from their parents. Marriage is two people with two totally different backgrounds, totally different experience, because everybody's a fingerprint coming together. And then not only you coming together, you have to operate financially, emotionally, physically on a in a unity that think about it. So if you're 25 and you get married, right? You got 25 years of operating by yourself. You know what I mean? Like me and my wife were 4 years apart when we got married. So she was 22, I was 26, I think, when we got married. And so, yeah, 25 when I got married. And so, you know, I'd already lived a certain single life, you know, that had stemmed outside of being 18 and 21. That, you know, I already had some things established. So, as far as marriage, man, two pieces of advice that has blessed me my whole marriage, and I've always leaned on. One, what you invest into your marriage is what you get out of your marriage.
Right.
So whatever you invest into it, that's what you're going to get. Second, marriage is like going to school, a school that you never graduate to the day you die. So like, that's, you know, the first 5 years in your marriage could be, you know, from your first grade year. Next 5 years can be your second grade year. You're always learning. Me and my wife, and you know, because seasons change, people change. My wife has grown. My wife is not the same woman I married. I'm not the same man she married because of the growth. Now think about that. It's hard enough to transition, you know, through life by yourself. Imagine having to balance that with someone else who's going through their own thing. And not only did you have to balance that, you have to balance your kids growing up. Then you have to balance the finances for the house. Well, what if you're going to lack it? There's so much that's invested in the marriage. But, you know, God gave us something that was so significant. Yeah. He said that it's a three-strand cord. Three-strand cord with him being in the middle, the other two wrapped around it. And that's the anchor. You know, there was time, you know, me and my wife have never really had, up until recently, people that we can go to and talk to. Yeah. You know how our relationship was growing, and we've been through our rough times and we're still going through some, and that's fine because it's growth. As long as we both are dedicated to growing, we gonna grow. It'll hurt. It definitely hurt emotionally, mentally. It hurts, but it's growth. You know, glory be to God. But there were times that I prayed. And I'll tell y'all, if I can give anybody advice on marriage, is pray. Man, if you are a praying man, instead of sitting here hollering at your wife or going back at it at your wife, put it before God. Like, I don't know how many things I put before God, and before I can even open my mouth to my wife, she's coming back, and vice versa. My wife puts something before God, and I'm in prayer, and Lord's like, you know, you need to go ahead and kill that pride and go apologize. Yes, sir.
You talking about her, right?
Right. But
her pride, right?
Right. You know, and so marriage as a whole, that's marriage as a whole. As a man, right? If we're talking about as a man, I remember one of my brothers said this. I didn't understand until I was like in my third or fourth, maybe fifth year of marriage. And he said, before he got married, he's like, man, I've been praying, Lord, kill my pride, right? And I thought he was being deep, right? But no, as a man, we have to ask God really to kill our pride. Yeah. Because a lot of people get the scripture mixed up as far as leadership in marriage, right? It's not saying that you dictate over your wife, because you're not a dictator in your household. That's not how it works. Nah. You are responsible. Don't get me wrong. When God looks at the family, he looks at the man. Yeah. And with the man, because you're the head of your house. But the relationship is one of a partnership, that you take lead in certain important decisions as the visionary of your household. But part of that is understanding that it cannot be from a prideful place. It cannot be from a place that, because pride is selfish. Pride is thinking about how I can succeed by myself. Yeah. And so pride looks at self. And so, man, it wasn't my fifth year of marriage that I realized that, man, you got to continue to kill pride, because pride will cause you to go down roads that will compromise your marriage, that will compromise your family, that will compromise everything that's associated with it. Yeah. Because it's selfish. It's thinking about how I can be fulfilled while forgetting that everything you do affects them, you know. And so I encourage men that if you are looking, men that are in marriage and men that are single, because it pride is one of the killers in men. Pride will lead you to sexual escapades outside your marriage.
Man, that's true.
I mean, because think about it. Pride is the seed that puts the focus on self. So if your wife ain't giving it to you, or if you and your wife are having disagreements and you're not able to get that sexual gratification from her, you become prideful. Well, I'm gonna go get it from somewhere else. You know, I'm gonna do it myself, and then it's gonna lead to something else. Well, what if I did this? What if I start chatting this person? That pride would take you so far. You know what I mean? And so it's man, it's Pride is a killer of a lot of things in men. And that's one of the I think the biggest things we as men have to fight, not just in our marriage, but individually, for the single man and the married man. Because you have to constantly be in the place of dying to yourself. And I'll just say this one last thing. If you're a single man, begin to prepare. You know what I mean? Meaning that take care of yourself. Take care of what God has given you. Actually, Paul said in the Bible that it's better to be as I am, which means single and focused on God, because marriage is the only thing that God gives you a right to focus on, just underneath your relationship with God. It's on that verge, because he compares it to Jesus and the church. And so, man, if you're getting ready for marriage, prepare yourself. Create a foundation, mentally and emotionally, where you're dealing with the things that you do. Because once you get in marriage, that baggage that you carry in is real, and you can't go nowhere. You lock yourself into a room with your wife, technically, and her baggage there, your baggage is there, and guess what? They gon' collide, and depending on how prepared you are, will determine how well. This is another piece of advice I almost forgot about. It's not about avoiding fights. It's about learning how to fight. It's learning how to get through it, because you're not going to avoid an argument. For that marriage, which, by the way, that's a lie from the pit of hell. So you never argue. That's a lie. Yeah, y'all may have small disagreements or whatever, because that's just not true. You're going to have disagreements because you're two different people. Because if you're not having a disagreement, then that means that someone's not being honest, or you're both not being honest, and that's just what it is. Because how can you don't have the same fingerprint? Y'all too different, so there's going to be thoughts and issues that collide.
Definitely,
you know what I mean? I see marriages from 50 years. I'm selling a car to these 80-year-old couple, and they've been married 53 years, and it's hilarious. Disagreeing at every turn. And the crazy part is, what I learned from these older couples, it's not about how they disagreed. It's how they dealt with it. They never got it. They didn't get offended with each other. He kept saying, "Girl, you can't drive. Don't. Oh, she gonna scare you." She's like, "Just shut up. I can drive." But there was at no point that it turned to a point where they became enemies.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they understood that, you know what, he loved me. He just messed with me, and vice versa. It was about how they dealt with it. And as a single man, and even as a single woman, prepare yourself to be able to have those type of conversations. And it's not to say you think, but man, what are my wife or my husband gonna have? No, but just get yourself in a position where you are vulnerable before God, and you're able and find somebody that can hold you accountable to growth. Because marriage is going to cause you to grow. If you become stagnant in marriage, then your marriage is going to be done. It just is what it is. But that's part of it. And then we can talk about it later more in depth. But I'm gonna turn it over to my brother Mo, because 9 years. And by the way, it don't matter. I mean, in some situations, age is important. However, wisdom that comes from learning is not really age dependent. You can be in your first year of marriage and learn something that would change somebody who's been in marriage for 20 years life. And so, but yeah, go ahead. I'm going ahead and back up out of this thing.
I think for me, man, let me show you how to keep her. And let me show you how to keep yourself in the process too. The Bible speaks about who is the greatest among you. The servants. Serve your wife with a whole heart. If you ever stop serving your wife, that's when you lose her. Because you got to think about, we do so much in the beginning when we get them. Do you want some water? I do. Oh, you want me to tuck your blanket up under you? Thank you. In the beginning, we are top-notch servers. I'm talking about A1. When we're trying to get what we need. But when we finally get it, and you get married to it, for some reason, and this goes for both sides. This goes for both sides, men and women. The day you stop serving your wife is the day you will begin to lose her. And I think we had this conversation. I was like, if you think about it, a servant, if you come to a restaurant long enough, that servant will begin to know you. That servant will begin to know, okay, you want your regular? How much is that effort and that time to put that into the woman that you love or the person that you love. Because I tell you this, after the smoke clears, after that 9 to 5 is going, I tell my wife this, I was like, this is my defense mechanism for the 9 to 5 thing. You pray for me. Once that job is over, you retire. Who you got?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your significant other. Don't lose that in the midst. After you retire, then you forget how to serve your significant other. It's reward in the servant. I will forever serve my wife. I know my wife's thinking before she even thinking. I'm a chess player. I love chess. iAgo tell you, chess is my game. On this board, when it comes to my family, I know I'm probably like 20 moves ahead. And another thing is, if you want to be married or in a relationship with somebody, stop being selfish. My brother said it earlier. You got two individuals who think opposite. I don't give a care if you got similar things that that y'all like. Oh, you like cartoons? Me too. You still gonna find some things that y'all do not. That's just opposite.
You like wrestling?
You know what I'm saying? You like wrestling? I'm into the ankle lock too. But you got like being in a relationship with anybody, you literally have to die to yourself. You have to die to yourself. And people are like, oh, that make you a simp. Well, that's why I'm sipping. And like your greatest investment will always be, like my greatest investment will always be in my wife. And her greatest investment will always be in me. That's why a lot of marriages fail. That's why a lot of relationships don't even get off the ground. We literally we lose how to serve, and then we become selfish in it. Like when things are not right, I look at myself, unpack myself. Okay, because I'm the head. Everything starts with the head, right? So if the head is out of whack, then everything else will crumble. If you're pay attention, like Rashad, pay attention. If you're not home and it's just the wife and the kids, it's a different atmosphere.
100%. It's truth. It's facts.
The minute daddy walked through the door,
atmosphere changed.
Whole thing changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I walked through the door,
mm-hmm.
everything changed.
Order steps in. Yep, it's facts.
And it's, can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
We got to understand the position that we play, man. And for my men out there, you're a leader. So which means you should be consulting daily the leader. The one for instructions, or the person who manufactured us. We're on earth just to manage this. Like we're literally just passing through. And while we're here, we're making sure everything is in line to get people where people need to be. And that's why the enemy comes against couples. He loves division. That's his favorite math. Division and adding conflict and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're married, man, or you want to get married, get up under some men or women, get up under some women that's going to teach you how to walk this thing. Me and my wife, well, she's an arguer. I'm not. I don't argue for that. I just don't. First of all, I'm grown. You don't have time to be arguing. It takes too much out when you argue and go back and forth in the blame game. You did this, but I did this, and you did this. Listen, I don't care who did what. Let's just fix it. Because at the end of the day, it's about the family. At the end of the day, it's about the legacy. And you can't create legacy with conflict. I'm not saying conflict is not going to be there, but when you do have conflict, learn from it. But I know we can go on about that. I did want to talk, I think, when you were talking about pride, and there's like, I know in the Bible it speaks about 6 different forms of pride. And I believe I think it's 7, but and I think we're gonna tackle that probably like on the next podcast or one after that. I'm not gonna say that because I don't know what the Holy Ghost is gonna do, but it is literally 7 things of pride in the Bible that the Bible speaks about. And when I first came across it, I said, "What? That's pride?" Forgive me, Jesus. Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. Go ahead.
I believe I found it too. I'll just name them. You got self exaltation.
Yep.
Pride gives credit to itself.
Right.
Self promotion. Pride welcomes credit from others. Self justification. Pride accepts credit from God Himself. Where's the other one? The other one is self. What's that? Degradation. Self-degradation. We get it there. Pride tears himself down. Ooh, Jesus.
Ooh.
Me right there. Right
oh,
there.
Yeah.
Self-demolition. Pride compares himself to others.
Come on.
The last one. Self-condemnation. Pride judges himself. Those are good.
We're going to tackle that.
Oh, wow.
iAgo.
Save this.
Yeah.
He's
about to hit us with some bars right now.
I'm not. I did.
Mary Mac.
I did get something though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got something, and it came from a place of when you guys were talking. I was sitting here. I was talking to the Holy Spirit. I was like, Lord, what do you want me to say from my experience? And He says, say what you've seen from not only your mentors, but what you've seen in your personal life and what you know I've taught you. And the phrase came up, be sharp as an iron sword, yet sweet as nectar.
Right.
Meaning, no matter in what stance you take as a man, be sharp in knowing the order and the regulation of things and how things are supposed to be, but don't rule with an iron sword.
Yeah.
That's where the sweetest nectar parts come in, where you have to know not only your significant other, but you have to know other people that you're impacting too, such as your kids or anybody that you're mentoring or anybody that you're connected with. Like, you have to be able to combat not only the order of things, but to be able to have that compassion, because as men we forget to think that like for somewhere down the line compassion became not masculine. And we have to get back to showing that compassion for people and being able to be empathetic towards people rather than just brushing it off because of what false masculinity has proven to be. So that's what I got. Sharp as an iron sword, yet sweet as nectar. Because like that's what we are. That's what we have to be as men. That is the way. Like, that right there is essentially what God is.
Yeah.
He's sharp as an iron sword, yet sweet.
That's fire, bro. The scripture says that husbands ought to love their wife as Christ loves the church and gave his life for it. And what you said is so profound. Brother, so profound. So profound, man, because as men, like you said, we lose that understanding of what compassion is. The ability to show compassion is strength in and out of itself. To hold your hand back to hold your frustration and to hold whatever may be what you want to display, but to choose compassion, to show restraint is actually one of the strongest signs of a man. To show restraint, you know what I mean? It's the strong that can restrain himself. It's the weak-minded and weak that don't. You know what I mean? And that are just swayed by any emotion. And so, man, and then also like you said, bro, like sharp as an iron sword and sweet as nectar. You know, one thing I've learned about marriage is that you can always compare it to Christ and the church.
All day.
And so as a husband, if you ever want to know, am I lining up with what I need to do? Well, am I doing what Christ has done for me? It's that simple. Am I, you know, when I'm mad at my wife, am I showing her grace? You know what I mean? When my wife is going through, am I there to uplift her and uphold her? Am I serving my wife? Am I serving my family? Because that's what Christ does for us.
All day.
We're the bride, he's the groom. And so my comparison as a man, as a husband, as a father, always go back to the example that God sets for us. And that's how I can self-check myself. Am I doing what he's wanting? Am I doing the same thing he's doing to me? And so when you said that, that's what I just thought about, man. It's like that's so profound, my brother.
Ultimate beautiful stuff, man. Ladies, listen.
Oh,
you heard my boy, right?
iAgo.
Sharp. Sweet.
Fro tight.
Listen. Boy single.
Golly.
What I say?
What'd I say?
He's not lying. He's not lying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But this has been an awesome podcast, man. I don't even know what to call this podcast, honestly, because we went in so many different directions. It's like, how do you go from talking about Andre 3 Stacks to Pride to America to I might call this the Mutt episode because everything is mixed in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This was honestly a good podcast. Next time we definitely gonna come knock y'all heads off. I mean, we knocked y'all heads off today too. Honestly, hopefully y'all picked up what we were putting down, and when we knocking, let us in.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? But this has been great. I am Mr. Made Over.
It's been your boy iAgo.
And this is your boy Rashad J.
What's up, Legacy Kings Podcast? It's your boy iAgo. Thank you for tuning in to the Legacy Kings Podcast episode today. We want to say thank you for watching us on the YouTube. We want to say thank you for listening on streaming platforms such as Spotify. We hope you enjoy it. And we truly, truly, truly hope that it blesses your soul.